task force, the leadership of the three services, and the members, the junior members of the three members of the three services, is the institutional and operational constraints on the effective segregation service and the National Youth Service.
And the rest of us who serve under you have no control over the
Regarding Ochawa, the CS Interior, the PS of Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of
controlled to what you call acceptable.
They don't have any doubt whatsoever that of recommendations which are in the report. I don't want this. With that, I want to stop there. Now, one of the most extensive.
On the campaign trail, Your Excellency, you did promise. Your Excellency, today is a great day and it's a big win for our officers in uniform. If Kenyans recall, on the campaign trail, Your Excellency, you did promise that if Kenyans gave you the money to lead this country, you would, on assuming office, initiate reforms to improve the terms and conditions of service for our officers in the National Police Service, the Kenya Prison Service, and the National Youth Service. The presentation of the report to you and the recommendations there too marks the beginning of the journey for police reforms and taking into consideration the improvement of welfare to create a better service for the people of Kenya. I would like to urge our officers across the country, when these recommendations are implemented and your terms of service and condition are improved, you must also give back to society by giving commensurate service. We want to see improvement in terms of the way you serve the people of Kenya. We want police officers to do away with corruption as a way of also appreciating the reforms that have been initiated by the President. Your Excellency, you have led by example in allowing the National Police Service to operate freely and independently. On assuming office, you did give the Inspector General of Police the functions of the accounting officer so that the police force, the police service remains independent. Your Excellency, it is on record that yourselves and the rest of us who serve under you have no control over the operations of the National Police Service. Even the Cabinet Secretary for Interior oversees the police service on policy matters, but they retain their operational independence. On that note, Your Excellency, it is also important that we commend the CS Interior and his PS and the National Police Service for the improved security situation in the country. For the last 1 year, Your Excellency, serious incidents of crime have not been reported, and crime has been controlled to what you call acceptable levels. The guns are silent in North Rift, in Northern Kenya, and other than petty crime, there is general improvement of the security situation in the country, and this, Your Excellency, has contributed to the upsurge of tourism in this country. As we speak, all hotels along the coast in Masai Mara and other tourist destinations are full as a result of improved security situation in the country. Again, the improved security situation in the country is responsible for the trooping of investors in this country, because investors will only come to a country that is secure and where they are guaranteed of their security and their investments. I therefore want to encourage Professor Kindiki and his team, as we approach the Christmas session, to be more vigilant and to make sure that the people of Kenya have an opportunity to enjoy their holidays with their families, and an atmosphere of investment continues to prevail so that we can attract foreign investors and other people from the world who want to come to this great country.
Implement the human resource policy on transfer for all officers in the three services to ensure no officer serves for more than 3 years in the same county. These and other measures documented in the report of the task force shall be transmitted for consideration and effective action promptly and conclusively by all government agencies that will be required by these recommendations. These are commitments that must not wait one day longer than is absolutely necessary, because our officers deserve support and Kenyans are entitled to a security sector they can be proud of. I am pleased that discussions between the SRC, National Treasury, and the relevant MDAs have proposed an alignment of these packages across the entire security sector. I thank Mr. Justice Retired David Maraga and all the members of the task force for a thorough, meticulous, compiled, and clearly written report which effectively articulate the necessity and urgency of transformative changes to our national policing and other security services. Your contribution to our transformative agenda is appreciated, Mr. Chairman, and your team, and your place in Kenya's history of positive change is assured. You can count on me and this administration to be meticulous and as thorough in implementing these recommendations with the same vigor, with the same commitment as you have demonstrated as you assembled these recommendations. This is a very proud moment for me because we continuously are discharging our commitments. We made a commitment, many commitments to the people of Kenya. There are some we implemented in day one, others in week one, others in month one, others in year one. We will continue to make sure that each and every commitment we made to the people of Kenya will be met, will be discharged, so that we can assure the place of leadership in Kenya, that leadership can match what they say with what they do. So I want to thank all the actors who have put this report together. I want to assure our men and women in uniform that as they put their lives at risk to protect Kenya, the government of Kenya, and the people of Kenya will stand by them to make sure that they serve in conditions that are sensitive to the responsibilities and the huge sacrifices that they are making. I'm very happy that the task force took time to engage with Treasury, to engage with SRC, and agree on the approximate terms of service for the three services. It will make our work much more easy for us to implement this report because we will have the least engagements and headwinds as we implement this report. Again, to all those who participated, I know many servicemen in the police, in the prisons, in NYS, gave their recommendations. Many other actors gave their recommendations. Many Kenyans participated in many different ways to put this report together. In our constitutional responsibility to engage the public in making sure that decisions of government are sensitive to what the Kenyan public want and desire. I'm very proud that we are now one step in the right direction to make sure that our policemen, whether it is their salaries, medical requirements, and all the other issues will be addressed using the recommendations by the task force, recommendations which have been handed over to me today. Asanteni sana, and I am delighted to achieve a critical step towards one of the key commitments of the Kenya Kwanza administration. When I took the oath of office, I committed to undertake reforms of our security sector in line with our democratic imperatives and to improve operational efficiency of our police force. The transformation of our security sector has been overdue for many decades, and in all fairness, many attempts have been made, both within the specific security sector agencies and by the national government centrally. These efforts have, at best, produced only minimal positive change. As a result, the weakness in the security services have grown to major challenges, which have further devolved into a threat to the integrity, efficiency, security, and public trust in the security agencies, and by extension, eroded their trust in the government's ability to guarantee the most basic right, the security of persons and their property. We pledge to transform our security services and to increase the state's capacity to protect the people, their belongings, their freedom, and their interests, to create an appropriate environment for enterprise, investment, commerce, and industry. The reforms are also intended to ensure that the gallant men and women in uniform who have committed themselves to the highly challenging and often risky career for the sake of keeping Kenya safe are accorded the respect, support, facilitation, and recognition that they do very well deserve. Accordingly, on December 21st, 2022, I appointed the task force on the reform of the National Police Service, the Kenya Prison Service, and subsequently the National Youth Service. This task force, led by our able chairman, retired Chief Justice David Maraga, was charged with the assignment to identify the legal, policy, administrative, institutional, and operational constraints to effective service delivery by these services. The committee took up the assignment with remarkable dedication and discharged its terms of reference meticulously, thoroughly, and in a manner which clarifies the assignment of recommended remedial interventions with a diagnosis of recognized challenges. I can testify to this task force dedication because they updated me frequently and on time on their progress, as well as evolving issues during the course of their work. I am directing the relevant organs of government to commence implementation of the various recommendations of the task force, beginning with the following. Number one, alignment of the terms and conditions of service of the National Police Service, Kenya Prison Service, and the National Youth Service with other security agencies. We now confirm that these three services are now moved to the security sector. Review the pay, living conditions, medical cover, housing, and other aspects of welfare for members of the services, and simply to do the right thing for these officers. I have seen the recommendation that has been made by the task force to enhance the salaries of our policemen, our National Youth Service, and our prison service by 40% over the next 3 years. I think it is a well-considered recommendation. We will now await the workings of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission to make the necessary adjustments so that we can implement this recommendation. We've also seen the recommendation of the career progression of our officers, so that there will be two categories of admission, one for constables and another for the cadet in all the three services. Again, this will give us the opportunity to grow appropriate leadership in all the three services. Number 4, review legislative and policy framework governing operations within the National Police Service, the Kenya Prison Service, the National Youth Service, to ensure better service to Kenyans, greater accountability, transparency, respect for the rule of law and integrity, and the subordination of these critical security services to civilian oversight and authority in line with our deepening democratic credentials. Institutionalize a long-term equipment modernization for all the 3 services. I am very clear in my mind, we are already undertaking the modernization of the police service equipment requirements. Then it will be followed by the Kenyan Prison Service and the National Youth Service. We have already made provisions in the supplementary to enable the National Youth Service begin the journey to be the arm of government that will help us mobilize young people from the grassroots and to use their energy, talent, knowledge, and expertise to drive National Youth Service. Automate human resource and finance management procedures in the 3 services, including processes for recruitment, transfer, promotion, and payment of salaries and allowances. The recruitment and promotion of members of the police service will be made transparent, competitive, and merit-based. The entry qualifications for all services will be raised to align with the expected competencies of officers, but without losing sight of the imperative to implement affirmative action. Going by my initial perusal of the report, and in accordance with the task force periodic updates, I am satisfied that the report I have received this afternoon has done justice to the assignment that I gave to the task force. The task force has diagnosed 4 primary problems in our services that have hampered effective and efficient service delivery, rendered them resistant to growth and transformation, and collapsed their stature in the eyes of many Kenyans. The problems are broadly underfunding, deficient leadership, structural and organizational weaknesses, and most critically of all, corruption. These perennial problems have impaired the terms and conditions of service, welfare, as well as motivation of officers who serve, and severely undermined service delivery to the detriment of the safety and security of the people of Kenya, their belongings, and their investments, and their interests. None of the services covered in the report receive adequate funding or even anywhere near it. The inappropriate processes and structures involved in recruiting, supporting, deploying, and promoting officers render the entire sector vulnerable to inefficiency, low professional standards, operational ineptitude, ethical lapses and malpractices, and general institutional decay. Coupled with this, outdated and inappropriate legal frameworks and organizational structures have created loopholes for malpractice, confusion, overlaps, outright conflict, and sometimes general inefficiency. In the report, corruption has been cited quite frequently and described as systemic, endemic, entrenched, deeply embedded, and rampant. Clearly, we have a serious problem in there, in that we have never developed in these services the capacity to serve the nation to any satisfactory standard. And as a result, the services have become increasingly suboptimal and problematic at worst. Our aim is not only to restore integrity, efficiency, and accountability by waging an anti-corruption campaign throughout government, and in this case, within the services. Our primary objective is to secure the transformation of this nation by instituting a professional, efficient, effective security sector which is defined by integrity, service, and accountability. We are therefore going to pay attention and great attention at that to the numerous well-considered recommendations made by the task force. Necessary changes to important instruments and measures, including policy, strategic, legislative, and operational frameworks, shall be implemented by the government in line with the recommendations made by the task force. Consequently, some will await action by Parliament to amend relevant legislation and the conclusion of the necessary work by committees, similar bodies as recommended in this report, including the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. Those that are administrative will be implemented immediately.
During the review, it became clear to us, Your Excellency, that the challenges facing the services were not just laws, policies, institutions, and processes, but also leadership gaps in the services. It also became clear that the reform recommendations stand little chance of being implemented if the leadership issues are not addressed. Initially, and because of the urgency of the issues, you had asked us this team to complete the exercise within 3 months. However, because of the depth and the complexity of the issues that emerged from the 3 services and the other requirements, such as public participation, consultations, there was a bit of delay, and we want to thank Your Excellency for extending the term to complete this. Your Excellency, to enable it to deliver on its mandate, the team carried out one of the most extensive consultations with the public participation in the 47 counties and held sessions with the leadership of the 3 services and the members, the junior members of the 3 services. One of the remarkable recommendations that came from both the field and the members of 3 services is that this time round, the recommendations of the task force will be implemented. There have been similar issues have come up in the previous task forces, and they have not been recommended, but they trust that this time round, Your Excellency, with the commitment that you have given yourself, don't have any doubt whatsoever that the recommendations will be implemented. On the 21st of December 2022, Your Excellency bestowed upon us the responsibility to look into the terms of service of the National Police Service, the Kenya Prison Service, and subsequently, the mandate of the task force was extended to cover the National Youth Service. 11 months later, I can report, Your Excellency, that the team that you tasked with this noble responsibility has delivered. On behalf of this team, I want to thank Your Excellency for the honor and the privilege that you gave us to take up this task. Personally, Your Excellency, I thank you for the singular honor that you gave me to lead this task force.